America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The harlot Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book.
I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sin.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey everybody, and welcome to
Believe It
or Not. I'm Trevor Poelman.
And I'm Damien Doepping, and this is the show where we believe it.
Or we don't. Who knows?
Or we don't. Most times I don't.
No.
I mean, I believe that these are things that people do and believe. I just wanted to put that out there. I didn't know if there was any confusion about my stance on belief and all that stuff, but I thought I would explicitly say it today. I felt like today was the day, and it's about time that I put it out there for people to know once and for all.
Yeah, and what I believe is I believe in a good cheese sandwich.
Yeah, well, who doesn't? I guess the lactose intolerant and the gluten intolerant.
Yeah, but those camps can go fuck themselves. You heard it here first, folks.
I believe that I would be very sad if I couldn't eat cheese and bread.
I baked bread yesterday.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What kind of bread?
It was I don't know, like I got some wheat. Sorry, not wheat. Flour, not like full wheat from a mill. They dropped it off at the restaurant to like thank us for our service or whatever. Well, like everything was closed down, but then I couldn't find yeast forever. And then I finally found yeast, and I made pizza last week. And then last night I was like, I'm gonna make some bread. So I made bread, and it was delish.
Yeah, homemade pizza dough. That's the way to go.
It really is. It really is. What's new with you?
Oh, not a whole lot. Well, they're finally opening things back up a little bit, so I've been getting out there into the working world as well.
Oh, good. You're back at work?
Slowly but surely. A little bit, yeah. So that's been interesting.
You guys have a patio, hey?
We do. It's weird seeing people you haven't seen in like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
And like a lot of them all at once, and you're like, what is happening?
It's very true. Yeah, same. We opened our patio. I've been working the whole time, but like bringing everybody back has been crazy.
How about yourself, Trev?
Oh, not much. Did I tell you I kind of lost my job?
I heard through the grapevine that you were stepping away, but you were still on for a few weeks, yeah?
Yeah. So they cut my position, and then so they cut it across all the restaurants, and then they said, we'll give you another job. And I was like, you know what? It's just time. So I know
down. You've been thinking about stepping it down and away for a little bit now, so this seems to be like it was the straw that broke the camel's back in a way.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So now looking for another job, but also like, just kind of chillaxing. I'm still there for a few weeks, but I'm not like stressing out about it and stuff. So
that's good. That's probably the mentality you really should have when you're there.
Yeah, it's true.
But, yeah, well, good for you. I mean, moving forward, do find something new and something fresh.
Yeah, or if everybody just wants to donate a bunch of money to this podcast, then maybe Damien and I can just both quit our jobs. And
we should set up, what is it, a GoFundMe?
Yeah, for Trevor doesn't need a new job, it's GoFundMe.
And I'd like to quit mine, too.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, who doesn't? I was just starting to like, not having to work. It was pretty great.
I retired once for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I COVID retired for a while, and it was great. You know what? I think every 2 years we should have a COVID quarantine.
I agree.
Just to get people to relax. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be as long as this one, but Anyway, we have something to talk about today, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We're going to talk politics, I guess.
They say you should never, like at a family gathering, you should never talk about religion and politics. And right now we're bringing both of those into one place for you. So next Thanksgiving or Christmas, if you're allowed to see your family, play this episode for them, and just let them go at it.
Yeah,
just
I agree.
Put it on. Just blast it through the Bluetooth speaks. Put it on your Google Home or whatever. Say, Alexa, play believe it or not.
Yeah, we used to prank our roommate Colin by hiding a Bluetooth speaker around the house and playing the 2.5 Men theme song. I think that's something that you should do to your family, is just play this episode randomly, hide Bluetooth speakers, and make them search for it and smash the speakers like Colin did.
Or play the 2.5 Men theme song. Either way, whichever one feels best for you guys.
So this might seem like old news to some of you, but we record ahead of time, and I felt like this is something worth discussing and an interesting topic. We're going to talk about Kanye West's political platform, his presidential platform.
Well, as of now, he has pulled out of the race, as far as I understand.
Okay.
So this was a whirlwind campaign where he was in it for like 3 days and then he wasn't. I could be wrong though.
No, you're probably right. So was it God's will? I don't know.
So I think it's still important to take a look at what exactly happened with this. So why don't we take a look at some of his beliefs and things on this?
So this is from a Forbes article. This is from July 8th, written by a guy named Randall Lane, but it's just like an interview about Kanye, with Kanye about his presidential campaign. So we're going to read a couple of it, or we're going to read his quotes and discuss.
Yeah.
On his natural political party, I would run as a Republican if Trump wasn't there. I will run as an independent if Trump is there. So pretty basic. He's just saying what his political affiliation is.
So he's basically saying he is a Republican, but if Trump is there, he wouldn't because he didn't want to run against him in the primaries, I'm guessing?
I guess so. Are they doing do they do primaries if it's an incumbent?
I don't know
think so.
Exactly. I mean, I guess that would be why he would run as an independent then.
Yeah, I guess so.
On his previous support for Trump, Trump is the closest president we've had in years to allowing God to still be part of the conversation. Okay. All right,
that is not true.
Here we go. So first of all, your president should not be dealing with that. I believe the American Constitution calls for a separation of church and state, does it not?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, yeah.
And most of the religious jargon that was brought in gradually over the years and much later.
Mm-hmm. Bush talked about God all the time. Even Obama would talk, like, pray and stuff like that and invoke religious stuff, more vague than Bush. But, Reagan talked about God all the time. Carter talked about God. Nixon worked with Billy Graham. He was like best friends with Billy Graham. I think God's been part of the conversation for a long time. I was reading an article and it said that James Garfield was considered the preaching president.
Really?
Because he was a preacher, basically, not officially, but basically a preacher before he became president.
Yeah, and the Lord said, I hate Mondays.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're telling me that James Garfield loves lasagna and hates Mondays?
Well, he had to get back to work after the day of rest.
That's true. On his MAGA hat moment, one of the main reasons I wore the red hat as a protest to the segregation of votes in the black community, also other than the fact that I like Trump hotels and the saxophones in the lobby.
The saxophones in the lobby?
Yeah.
Okay.
He liked the saxophones in the Trump Plaza and the hotels, so he said, I'm going to wear that red hat that signifies, a lot of racial inequality and hate in America.
I'm curious, so is he trying to say that he didn't really like Trump and that he was trying to separate himself from him? Where it seemed that he was pretty close with Trump, and I feel like they had a lot of personal interactions.
Yeah, it seems like it, and now he's trying to say it was a protest.
Which doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like, if it's a protest, sure, you can do it, but why would you be like hanging out and meeting with this guy constantly if you're doing it as a protest?
Yeah, exactly.
That seems to be...
And, he talks about it a lot, but, there is, leaning towards, a lot more black people vote for Democrats than for Republicans. And if he was maybe saying, I just wanted to show that you can actually have a political opinion, you don't have to just choose based on the color of your skin. But there's other ways to do that than wearing a Trump hat, wearing a MAGA hat. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I think the other problem is the two-party system.
Mm-hmm. That is a huge problem.
I don't know if it works, so...
Yeah.
I think there's some fundamental problems that just wearing a MAGA hat isn't going to solve.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I like how in Canada we have multi-parties, because then if a party isn't doing well and they lose, if they mess up a bit, even if they have some overall good ideas and they lose a number of seats because they messed up, then all of a sudden, if it's a minority government, they have to work with another party in order to get anything done, and there has to be compromise. And in government, compromise is a very good thing.
Yes, we still do have our own problems.
And very much.
I mean, we're kind of a two-party system light.
Yeah.
I mean, the NDP has been coming a bit more as of late, maybe a bit less than they were for a bit there, but it's still becoming a little more of a viable alternative choice.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I was hearing a bit about the this American group called, it's like the Party of Lincoln or something like that, and they're a Republican group that are trying to convince everybody to vote for Biden this year as a protest to how the Republican Party has just bent over backwards for Trump and just holding them accountable. Like, we need a reset. We need to get Trump out of there, and we need to get all these people out there who have supported him and get back to the fundamentals of the Republican Party. So they're like, that's their protest against, that it's still, for the two-party system, but it's,
Well, this is another thing that I don't understand about politics. It really kind of baffles me, because politics is not, it's not a lifestyle. It's an ideology that kind of evolves and adapts with what is happening.
Yeah.
Yet for some reason, people seem to feel the need to, once you have your party, that is your party, you support it no matter what, and you would die if you had to support another party.
Yeah.
And I think that is such an irresponsible way to view political discourse, because this is something that should be trying to work with everybody and trying to do things in everybody's best interest. Of course, there are going to be differences in opinions based on people's stances and their belief systems.
Yeah.
That being said, I when you just kind of paint it as this black and white, like us versus them, there's really no chance of progress at all.
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, look at the last 10 years or more of the American system, where it's one party in power, and then the other party, one party has the executive branch and then the other party has the House or whatever, so nothing gets done. And
yeah, they just come in and then they undo anything that was done from the previous administration, and then it's just the cycle continues.
Oh, 100%.
It's just it's disheartening, especially when you know people who are just like, if I can't vote for the Republican, I won't vote at all.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't help anyone.
No.
On discussions on race with the White House, one time I talked to Jared Kushner, who was saying, we don't have black leaders, we just have hustlers. Why? Because they killed all the black leaders. Requests for comment from the White House and the Kushner last night were not immediately returned. So let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah, they just don't vote for them. They have killed a lot of black leaders, but there are some great black leaders. I mean, I'm pretty sure in the last little bit they had a black African American president recently.
Right.
And yeah, there are plenty of great black leaders. They just aren't voting them in. So that's just not true.
Well, I don't know if this is necessarily race with the White House. Yeah, okay. I suppose this is specifically with that.
Yeah.
I think to a certain degree that they do kill those potentials. I mean, how much of the RNC and the DNC, it's kind of, they groom the people that they want to groom and the people they feel that can do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So as much as I say, yes, there are those leaders, I do to a certain degree think that there is something systemic in the way that is kind of preventing an open discourse for it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's 100% what I mean, too, is that, yeah, those leaders exist. And there are people that have the potential to be great leaders that are just shut out. It's not just that they've been killed or whatever. It's that they are just shut out. And it's,
oh, yeah.
And
My point was more that even if they're there, if they don't have those opportunities, then they're not there, is what I mean.
on Democrats. That is a form of racism and white supremacy and white control to say that all black people need to be Democrat, and to assume that me running is splitting the vote. All of the information is being charged up on social media platforms by Democrats, and Democrats used to tell me the same Democrats have threatened me. The reason why this is the first day I registered to vote is because I was scared. I was told that if I voted on Trump, my music career would be over. I was threatened into being in one party. I was threatened as a celebrity into being in one party. I was threatened as a black man into the Democratic Party. And that's what the Democrats are doing emotionally to my people, threatening them to be to the point where this white man can tell a black man, if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
See, I think I understand where he is coming from, and I think it's true, because I do think that both sides do this, where people push those ideologies and saying, well, if you're doing this, you're this, and if you don't do this, you're this kind of thing. And it's especially true with politics, and with how visceral it gets with people and how emotional people get about it. And it goes back to what I was saying, that people are so die hard into their camps that rather than being able to have an actual discourse about it and understand that people do have differing opinions on these things, a lot of times it just ends up becoming hurling insults and saying, like, well, if you don't vote for this, you're an idiot, or if you voted for this guy, you're this. And there is a lot more nuance to it. And I feel like someone like Kanye West, who I think he's definitely a smart guy. He's gotten as far as he has and done as much as he has. But I think he's smart in some areas, but not in others.
Yeah, and I think there might be some mental health issues too with him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I think those things make him more susceptible to those attacks, right?
Yeah.
Especially being such a public figure.
Yeah.
So I definitely see where his point of view is for this. Whether or not he went about it the right way is something completely different. That's a circumstantial thing, I think.
Yeah. I'm blown away by the fact that he's never voted.
I'm not. I'm really not.
No?
No, not at all.
Running for president, though, having never voted.
Yeah, again, I am totally not surprised by that.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had a reality TV star, and we have a reality TV star in the office right now. The fact that somebody hasn't voted, especially coming from, different. There are different sections of the country in the States who never have voted or don't want to vote.
Yeah.
They don't trust these systems, and they don't trust these things that are in place.
Yeah.
So when you're from a community that has that kind of distrust and I don't want to say fear of, but I think it's completely reasonable that maybe they haven't voted, and maybe that is a good reason for them to get into politics, is so that way these voices and these ideas can get out there. So I understand why it can be considered like silly that, oh, he's never voted, why is he running for president? But I can also see it as a symptom of a larger problem. And of course he hasn't voted. Of course he wants to get involved with politics. If anything, that makes sense, and I see why that's happening. What are your thoughts on this? I'm getting very charged up today.
No, it's okay.
Least funny episode in a while.
That's okay. No, my thoughts. Well, I was going to say too about the Democratic Party. The reason, I mean, obviously, a whole race of people who have like a large chunk of the population. Of course, there's going to be different political opinions. So it's interesting that the majority of African Americans will vote for Democrats, and it just goes back to the civil rights movement and the fact that, like with Jim Crow laws and stuff, it was the Democrats that were opposed to Jim Crow laws, and I think that just created a lot of loyalty to that party, whether or not you agree or disagree with a lot of their politics. There's that history there of they had our back, and they, the Republicans wanted us to, they still wanted us to be segregated, and there's still all these like racial motivated policies that the Republicans have. Whereas if it was an actual two parties both trying to, do the best they can for their people, but also have different opinions on how to do it, I think we'd have a more even split, as opposed to like these, how it's so racially charged and it's so socially charged on both sides that because it doesn't make sense for that block of people to just all lean towards one like political stance, you know, if it was a fair system.
My question is, I want to know, I don't know if there are statistics on this or not, but much like religion, I feel to a certain degree politics is almost driven by what you've grown up with to a certain degree, you know?
Yeah.
Not for everybody. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm sure this is definitely a factor. Like, I mean, if you grew up in a very conservative household with very conservative parents, I think that, a lot of times people will get those beliefs from their parents. Same with like a religion or even a sports team. Yeah. It's like, well, my dad went for these guys, so I go for these guys kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's a factor into some of this as well.
Yeah, because it makes you feel like part of the tribe and part of that group or whatever. And like, if you look at people I knew in Bible college in Alberta, they grew up staunchly conservative. Like even like non-religious people, a lot of them were very conservative growing up because that's just what Alberta is. It's a very conservative place.
What you grew up with, yeah.
Yeah, and the way I grew up is my parents never told us what party they voted for, and they always told us to just like, look into each candidate and decide, and not to, go along party lines. I think that changed later in my life, but like that's what it was as a kid. It was like, no, this is, we're never going to tell you who we vote for, and we want you to make those decisions yourself. And I think it creates a different kind of dynamic, different kind of way you view politics.
Yeah, for sure. On how the race will be decided. Let's see if the appointing is at 2020 or if it's 2024, because God appoints the president. If I win in 2020, then it was God's appointment. If I win in 2024, then that was God's appointment. Do you think God really appoints the president, Trev?
No, no. But I will say...
You don't think he's like a French king in the 15th century or whatever? Appointed by God?
It kind of makes sense that somebody who's never voted thinks that God appoints the president.
I mean, to say that God appoints the president is like, well, then what's the point of having a democracy?
Exactly. It's a theocracy. It's like the Old Testament where God would literally send a prophet to say who was going to be the next leader.
Yeah.
And if that's the way it works, then, that's the way it works. Who am I to say? On the coronavirus cure, we pray for the freedom. It's all about God. We need to stop doing things that make God mad.
Great. So another person blaming horrible things in the world on people sinning.
Yeah.
The most asinine cop-out for actually listening to science.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just something that, we talked about it on the epidemic or the pandemic episode. We talked about it on different episodes, how just people love blaming whatever happens in the world on sin, because it's a cop-out. It's just a way to not actually, look into what's happening and why it's happening. Or even just to say that sometimes shitty things just happen. There's a reason for it, and the reason is usually you touch yourself at night.
Well, that's the other thing. It's another way for those in power to reinforce their belief systems by having something that they can point to, right?
Yeah.
They can say, like, well, look at that. There was a hurricane that killed a bunch of people. That's because there are gay people. Gay people are real. You see them all the time. They're on TV now, and because they're on TV, that's why these hurricanes are happening. Not like, no, there are hurricanes happening because hurricanes happen every year, and because of our emissions and things like that, these things are getting worse and worse and more frequent. There's a causality to these things, and it has nothing to do with these quote-unquote evils that these people are trying to vilify even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's like, have you seen that thing? It's like a meme that went around for a while, or somebody screenshotted it, but it was like a tornado went through this like town and destroyed a bunch of houses, and somebody posted that a tornado killed their aunt, but the Bible was left intact, and how God is good or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
He killed your aunt, but saved the Bible? Or like you'll see a cross that survived or whatever. that happened to be like in cement, so of course it survived.
My thing is, like, how can you be surprised about a tornado running through your home when you live in a place called Tornado Alley?
Yeah, it's true.
It's in the fucking name.
Oh, I got punched in the face again. Did you walk through punched in the face alley? Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah. This might be insensitive, but I always felt that way with people who are like into extreme sports and hobbies. When someone got injured or killed, and everyone's like, "It's such a tragedy," and I'm like, "Well, it's not. That's part of the inherent risk of what they were doing. They knew that going into it, that there was always a possibility that something like this could happen. I mean, that's part of the appeal for people in doing it. Like, the risk is part of the fun. That being said, when the risk catches up with them, I mean, it was almost inevitable. And that's just me being an insensitive bastard. I'm sorry.
Just watch the interview of Norm Macdonald on The Daily Show talking about Steve Irwin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I've probably tried some dumb things, and if I die, I don't want people to say it was a tragedy. I want to say, like, yeah, well, that's what, he was doing what he wanted to do, and that's what's going to happen if you're taking those risks. I mean,
it was just his time. No, it wasn't just his time. He was tightrope walking.
Yeah, it's not like I was on the bus and then we got T-boned by a tractor trailer. That's a tragedy.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I'm riding a dirt bike on a tightrope and fall, then it's like, well, it was bound to happen eventually.
Yeah.
Anyway, next one on vaccines. It's so many of our children that are being vaccinated and paralyzed. So when they say the way we're going to fix COVID is with a vaccine, I'm extremely cautious. That's the mark of the beast. They want to put chips inside of us. They want to do all kinds of things to make it where we can't cross the gates of heaven. I'm sorry when I say the humans that have the devil inside them. And the sad thing is that the saddest thing is that we all won't make it to heaven, that there will be some of us that do not make it. Next question. Okay. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, so this brings me back. It was funny. This is a silly conversation we were having where I was saying that I don't like Oprah because she just become a platform for some very terrible people. And then Cody asked me if I think Oprah is worse than Jeffrey Dahmer. And I said, well, Oprah provided a platform for Jenny McCarthy, a noted anti-vaxxer, who's been continuously debunked by the scientific community, but for some reason still gained traction. She provided a platform for Dr. Oz, who, a real doctor no less, has put out so much quackery and dangerous non-medicine to people on a daily basis. Dr. Phil, who's probably pushed back people's mental health progress a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So just with those three people, I'm sure Oprah has caused more deaths than Jeffrey Dahmer ever did.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's true. I was. Have you ever heard the podcast Behind the Bastards?
No.
Okay, it's great, but they just like take awful people and then just talk about their history and how they got to where they were. And they just did an episode recently on John of God, who we talked about on some episode, and I think preacher scandals. But he's this prophet, psychic healer in Brazil, and he really rose to fame in America because of Oprah and Dr. Oz. And first ABC did a profile on him where they brought Dr. Oz down there and James Randi to see if he was legit. Of course, they didn't give James Randi barely any TV time. They just focused on Dr. Oz, and because James Randi's whole thing was, no, psychic healing isn't real. Let's do a DNA test on this chicken gizzard they pulled out. Like, what are you doing? But and then Oprah promoted the shit out of John of God, and then, of course, he's been scamming people for years, but he's also like, all these people are going to his compound and he's a rapist and he's raping all these people. And it's like, now she's, she took all the articles about him off the website and like just kind of doesn't want to acknowledge that she helped this guy rise to such prominent. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I I don't necessarily think she's an evil person, but she has definitely been complicit in a lot of very bad stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a responsible thing would be to speak out about that and actually try and be a change for it. But I don't necessarily know that she has.
No.
I'm also just cautious that Oprah's goon squad are going to come for us now.
Yeah, it's true. They're after us.
They might be. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the vaccine stuff, that's obviously, it's so stupid and so wrong. And like, we'll kill so many people. And then also the Mark of the Beast thing, that's been floating around ever since some internet hoax or whatever, or like conspiracy theory about Bill Gates wanting to use the vaccine to put microchips in us so that so we can track us, and it's the Mark of the Beast. And
is the microchip supposed to be the Mark of the Beast? I don't get how these two are connected.
It became I wrote down a few things that have been considered the Mark of the Beast, barcodes, and then like a lot of company logos, like the Monster Energy drink logo. Obviously, we talked about the P&G logo on the Amway episode. The Chrome, like the Google Chrome logo, is supposed to look like 666.
Okay.
So like so many different things have been like considered. Oh, it's the Mark of the Beast, or like but in the last 20, 30, 40 years, microchips have become like the main go-to thing of that's the Mark of the Beast is a microchip. I don't know. It's just, it was friggin' barcodes, and then it was microchips, and it's just really stuck in there, and it's ridiculous.
I don't think Bill Gates is trying to install the number of the beast in people.
Yeah.
Is Bill Gates working towards microchips for people? Because I understand microchips for people can be a positive thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that if it's something that has access to your medical records or things like that, this can be something that can be a positive step for people.
Yeah.
I don't think Bill Gates is trying to install mind control chips in us. Is he actively working towards anything with this, or is this all rumor?
I think it's mostly rumor. He was actively trying to do whatever he can to help fight the coronavirus. He's been talking about outbreaks for years and vaccines and stuff, so he's definitely funding stuff and trying to help it, but it's not, I don't think there's a sinister motive behind it. I think he's just
not
concerned that people are dying.
Yeah.
I was Googling microchips too, and like there was an article about how just somebody saying that we shouldn't microchip our pets because that's going to give them the ammo to microchip people. It's just like a stepping stone.
That's back to the whole thing. It's just like, well, if you start, don't they say that about homosexuality? He's like, well, if you sleep with another man, what's to stop you from sleeping with animals?
Yeah, it's like
what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah. Ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, you start brushing your teeth. What's to stop you from sticking that toothbrush up your ass? Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, nothing's gonna stop me. I've made up my mind. I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna make sure I have no cavities in my cavities.
Yeah, it's funny too because like the Mark of the Beast, I feel like that's something where in the Bible you have to choose to get the Mark of the Beast. It's not something they trick you into.
I mean, it should be.
Yeah. If I was the Beast, I would trick you into the Mark, but that's not what I am.
All right. Do we want to keep going on some of these, or
sure? Yeah.
Do we want to jump ahead to anything?
I want to read the on deciding to run for president because this is incredible.
All right. Why don't we do this one and we'll call this kind of like our end for the Kanye thing.
Okay, sounds good. So why did he want to run for president? It's when I was being offered the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award at MTV. I remember being at my mom's house, my mother-in-law, because my house was being worked on. She calls me son, and I call her mom. I was in the shower, thinking, I write raps in the shower. It hit me to say, you're going to run for president, and I started laughing hysterically. I was like, this is the best. I'm going to be going out there, and they're going to think I'm going to do these songs and do this for entertainment, how rigged awards shows are, and then say I'm going to run for president. And I just laughed in the shower. I don't know for how long, but that's the moment it hit me. Just God told him in the shower he's running for president.
It's funny because it's like a teenager.
Yeah.
It's so stream of consciousness. It's like, that's an idea I had and I thought it was hilarious, so this is what I'm going to do. Like, there's no real motivation behind it other than just a shower thought, quite literally.
Yeah, it's just literally a shower thought, and that's what made him decide to run for president. Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes that does happen, but I don't know if there's anything else to support it.
I've had great ideas in the shower. Just where I'm washing. And basically, I had great ideas about where to wash.
Excuse me?
Should we move on to Christian rock lyric?
Sure. I was very lost by that, but yeah, let's go to Christian rock lyric and.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
So this is a song by an artist named Kanye West.
Oh,
it's on his album.
I've heard of him.
Called Jesus is Lord. You've heard of him? Yeah, he's kind of a.
Is this his new one? The one where he had all the really weird artwork for it? Where it's like all MS Paint circles and stuff.
Yeah, all the merchandise. Yeah, that was such. Oh, check out Kanye's merchandise for this album. It's
he is a marketing genius because there are people who are buying that.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like I said, he is a smart guy.
Yeah,
in a lot of respects. Politically, I don't know.
No. That's the one thing too. I'll go. Just the design thing is one of the questions was about his policies, and he's like, "I don't do policies. I do designs."
That's a problem.
Yeah, that's a very big problem.
That's a problem.
But the lyrics. Closed on Sunday, you're my Chick-fil-A. Closed on Sunday, you're my Chick-fil-A. Hold the selfie, put the gram away. Get your family, y'all hold hands and pray. When you got daughters, always keep them safe. Watch out for vipers, don't let them indoctrinate. Closed on Sunday, you're my Chick-fil-A.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I really want some fried chicken now.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe I'll make some fried chicken.
That's about
it. Actually, I literally am going to make some chicken wings right after we're...
Closed on Sunday, you're my Chick-fil-A. I think Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday.
It is, yeah.
Not?
They are.
Because of
I mean, it makes sense.
Right?
Do you think he was eating Chick-fil-A when he wrote this song? Oh, no, he writes the songs in the shower. We already discussed that.
Right. So is he talking about Jesus in this song?
Yeah, it's all about the whole song's basically about protecting yourself and staying away from temptation and getting rid of Jezebel and praying to
like
God.
The Wu-Tang song "Protect Your Neck," but about Jesus.
About Jesus, yeah.
I think it's interesting to compare the Lord to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've never had Chick-fil-A, but
I mean, I don't know how flattered. Like, I mean, if you look at it this way, so if you're dating somebody, and you're like, you compare them to, I don't know, what like Popeyes. You're like, I don't know, baby, you're my Popeyes chicken. Do you really think they're going to be happy about that?
If somebody compared me to Popeyes, I would be very happy.
I would probably be more confused. I'd be like, okay, I don't really know if that's supposed to be good or bad.
Yeah. Like, because Popeyes is so juicy.
Hey, I love Popeyes. I'm not saying that I don't like these things. That being said, I also understand that it's just a fast food chain. I mean, if you compared someone to like a Michelin star restaurant, yeah. Oh yeah, that's that's fancy, that's important, that's big, that means something. But to say like, oh, you're like my McDonald's. Yeah, I see on every other street corner, and I'll only pay $1 for you. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's true. I think Jim Gaffigan has a whole bit about that.
Hey, and again, I like McDonald's. I'm not trying to knock it. I'm just saying, when you're trying to compare someone important to a fast food chain, it kind of seems like a dig more than a compliment.
It really does. Hey, baby, you my Burger King.
Exactly.
In that you're open all night.
What, the grill marks are fake, and I don't know.
Well, that's our deep dive into Kanye West. this platform.
Yeah, and Kanye, if you're listening, listen, man. I think you're a smart guy. I do like some of your music, so I'm not gonna knock you for that. I don't think you in politics are necessarily the best choice.
Yeah,
I think you can be politically involved and politically active, and more power to you for that. But I just don't think you should be president, man.
Yeah, and here's a note for all celebrities who think they want to get into politics. You don't have to run for president first. There are other political things you can do besides running for president. Be comptroller.
Well, there are plenty of celebrities who have gotten into politics as well.
Yeah.
And whether or not they've done well or not, I think that's besides the point. But the thing is, they have gotten involved on a much more local level.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them have been like senators and things like that.
Governor. Yeah.
Governors and things too.
Yeah.
But I think there's a step you can go before you jump right to president. At the very least, there's a step you should go before you jump right to president.
Yeah. It's just silly. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Rate us on iTunes if you like it.
Yeah.
Or don't.
And or not, whatever.
Yeah. And have a beautiful, beautiful time.
Mm-hmm. And bye.
Bye.
Work, Sky Moon.
Baby, you're my Dairy Queen. Give me the shits.
Does it give you the shits?
No, but if I was lactose intolerant, this character, I was Julian, was lactose intolerant.
Right.
Yeah.
I should have known. I should have known.
Yeah.